Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And now we're joined over the phone from France by Dr. Bassem Omar, the Professor of Economics at the University of Monaco. Dr. Omar, can you hear us, sir?
Yes, hello. I hear you well.
Dr. Omar, first off, we're discussing the industrial sector here in Egypt, which has really made a great leap over the past few years, considered one of the main, if not the main contributor for the Egyptian economy. Showed last year a growth and reached about 17.1% of the whole of the Egyptian economy. How do you explain this big leap in the industrial sector over the past few years?
Well, first of all, I think this is the fruit and the results of the economic reform program that was very successful, and it was mainly targeting developing industry in Egypt, and not any industry. The focus was made on trying to make industry as inclusive as possible, trying to create employment and trying to develop industries all over Egypt, not only as usual nearby Cairo, for example, but to develop new industrial zones and to provide all investors with the right incentives for them to attract investors in these two areas.
Dr. Omar, now Egypt has its own goal and vision to achieve sustainable development by 2030. Was it very different, the way to promote and develop the industrial sector, having this goal of achieving sustainable development 2030, as opposed to decades before of the industry sector?
Yes, if we go back in time, 5 years, 7 years ago, we all remember electricity shortages, even for households. So imagine for industries who rely heavily on energy, on electricity. So as we speak today, a huge achievement has been made to transform electricity and energy production to more sustainable sources, greener sources. One good example is the Binban Solar Park, which is the largest in Africa by far, but maybe one of the largest in the world as well. And we have seen all these wind farms flourishing nearby the Red Sea and in many areas. So to try to maximize the use of natural resources to produce energy, which is the backbone of providing industries with what they need to start production and to produce efficiently. So this was one way, if you like. Another way was to try to recycle much more than usual and to give incentives to industries to promote new ways of production that are more sustainable.
Dr. Omar, you've mentioned the energy sector and the industries dealing with the energy sector. Is this considered a new sort of direction, instead of just producing basic commodities and products that the markets are used to, but now focusing on the energy sector and industrializing energy and industrializing the international communication technology sector? Is this a new, different direction that Egypt hasn't been used to really have the lion's share in?
Yes, it's really a shift in vision altogether. I think now what is happening is that there is a long-term vision on where we would like to see Egypt 20, 30, 50 years from now. We have to see how the world is going to be evolving in the future. And now the digital revolution, if we can call it, that was accelerated by COVID-19 pandemic, is just one direction where the world is going to be in the coming years, where everything will be more and more digitalized with artificial intelligence. So we still need to produce for today's needs, but we need to have a vision of the long term and to start from today getting the country ready with the right education level, training, and orienting industries toward the future, if you like. And it's what is happening now.
Dr. Omar, we've seen this giant leap by the industrial sector here in Egypt, really more or less when we started implementing the economic reform program, which was about 2016. Now it's 2021, about 5 years into it. How would you evaluate the pace of the development within this sector? compared to the international industrial sectors?
So if we compare it to what the plans were in 2016 and even before, because even the reform program was designed and thought for before 2016, but the idea was to be much further than where we are today. We have been held back by the pandemic. And now, if you just take your question and compare to the other, other countries in the region and worldwide, well, Egypt is doing way better. And we are one of the very few countries that in 2020, despite the pandemic, had a positive growth rate in general and in industry particularly and agriculture, because, tourism have seen a strong slowdown in 2020. But yes, compared to other countries, these have been doing really very well on the industry. But, well, the pandemic, held back the potential of being even in a better situation today.
And what could be done by the Egyptian citizen and the Egyptian government to actually also speed up this development of quite a vibrant sector for the Egyptian economy?
There's something essential. We can talk about education, but we can even mention it in a different way, which is skills, building skills. We need to move away from the traditional way of education, going to university, spending years of learning too many, items and courses and so on, and trying to see what our industries need today and in the coming 5 years, and start training our youth to cope with this new technology, new requirements, to deal with an issue that we call in economics, labor market mismatch. So the demands of the industries are not well matched by the skills of the people. So we need to work on this, and I think there is a little bit shortage in some sectors. We have oversupply in other sectors. So making an assessment of all this and giving strong training to those who can retool themselves would be very efficient in the future.
Dr. Amar, one final question. Now, you've mentioned that we do need the training, we do need the skill, we need to make up for some of the shortages for some market demands, and we have an oversupply in other areas as well. Which are the areas, what are the areas that you see suffers from a bit of shortage in terms of training and labor and skills that Egypt needs to really focus on and build in satisfying the demand that the Egyptian market needs?
Well, new technologies, digitization and digitalization. If you look at software available worldwide, they are mainly in English. All the platforms are mainly in English, and there is a huge demand for Arabicizing, transforming all this into Arabic. If we take one example, online teaching, online learning, there is plenty of material available in English, but very few in Arabic. So it will be very beneficial to attract the youth to learn how to create this content in Arabic. And also it will be beneficial for those who are going to be using this material later on to learn themselves and to educate themselves. So anything linked to transform to the digital transformation and new technologies altogether will have a huge potential for both those who would like to learn, to come to the job market, and the end users who will benefit from it as well.
Dr. Bassem Amar from France, the Professor of Economics at the University of Monaco. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. And ladies and gentlemen, as Dr. Amar mentioned, we do need a lot of skills and training and to satisfy the shortage and the demand that is needed in terms of technological industries. And that's one of the reasons why we have many technological universities being established right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go for a short break and we'll be right back.